because I didn't want to be late. I wanted to be on time. Coming to you at 5. This is Volo live at 5. You know what I mean? Yao Ming. Who used to be a great basketball player for the Houston Rockets, right? Top 10 all time? Nah, I wouldn't say that. China might say that, but I ain't gonna say that. You know what I mean? Great, he was a good shot blocker, but so was what was his name? Sean Bradley, right? That's who the Sixers had, right? I'm looking forward to the Sixers this year, though. Like with LeBron playing that 4-point forward, power point forward position, we might witness something amazing, right? Because he, you know, it's running the length of the floor, the fast break, et cetera, but we a fast break team with the 3 other players, right? And I'm not including Embiid in that, right? So with Embiid and LeBron playing more of a defensive positions, it'd be quite interesting to see how good the Sixers can actually be, you know. Especially if we still, I gotta look at the lineup because I think our bench might be pretty solid too. From what we had last year, our bench was pretty solid. It's just Embiid isn't the MVP 40 minutes a game player that he used to be. You know, like he's definitely cut back. But I'm looking forward to the Sixers this year, and it's. And y'all listening to a LeBron, you know, I don't hate anybody, but you know, I do, you know, I guess top 10 all time. I don't put him above Larry Bird. Let's say that, right? You know what I mean? Because, you know, yeah, he got the ups and the physical ability that Bird didn't have, but Bird had that clutch 3 and awkward shot phenomenon type stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like a touch. Bird had a touch with the ball that was only comparable to like Magic Johnson, really. You know what I mean? Like Magic had that touch to the ball too. Even Michael didn't have a touch. It's something like if you was to put attributes with basketball, touch should be one of the attributes. You know what I mean? Like anybody that plays Madden knows the attributes of Madden, right? You know, speed, power, you know, et cetera, right? You know, and you adjust the attributes, you know what I mean, 99 being the most powerful attribute. So, I mean, we used to like laugh at Madden because it'd be like, you know, it'd give Michael Vick like 99 speed and give him like a 98 throwing power or something like that, you know? But then put accuracy at a 70 and it's like, yo, that's like getting the worst quarterback on the planet, yo. Like, you know what I mean? Because all you can do is drop back and hopefully you can take off. But if you take off, best believe he gonna fumble that ball. You get a good hit on him, that ball coming loose. You know what I'm saying? Like, Donovan was a similar player. Well, Randall was a similar player back when the game first came out. When I used to play on a Genesis, before it had a number, like Madden, right? So this is back in 89 when it first came out, 89, 90. And I used to play with the, you know, then it was just, I don't even think they called it the Eagles. They just called it Philadelphia. I don't think they had the NFL rights on it. So, they even had the numbers. Like they had the numbers. So the player had number 12. It was Philadelphia, but they didn't call him the Eagles. But you know it was Randall. And I used to just drop back and just take off for every play. And it was like unstoppable. So people used to get mad at me for picking the Eagles, you know what I mean? But then, like, my other team might have been the 49ers or something like that. Because you do need 2 teams. Because, you know, I'm playing with a whole bunch of Philadelphians anyway, so you know what I mean. But Madden used to be that used to be the game that brought the fellows together, the fellowship together, right? I mean, I can talk about video games all day. I titled this episode, well, you know, I call them programs. I titled this program, "A Pizza Party Shouldn't Be Political," right? Because they making everything political, but they not. You know what I mean? If it was to truly be political, people would leave me alone, for example, right? Because I explain it again and again and again and again. Back in 1989, when I turned 18, I didn't register Democrat or Republican. I registered independent. Now, what did that mean? That means I'm independent. I ain't got nothing to do with either one of the political parties. You know what I mean? I can create my own political party and, you know, call it whatever I want. Now, what our society has been teaching us over the 47 presidents, right? Trump and Grover Cleveland being the only two multi-numbered presidents, right? Trump was the 45th and the 47th president, and Grover Cleveland, I think, was the 21st and 23rd, or 20th and 22nd. You failed because you got it the wrong numbers. Like, stop with that, yo. Like, you know what I mean? And that's where the historians get a little hypocritical in trying to be political, right? Because I came to the understanding that George Washington, being the first president, was the president of independence. Like like y'all just signed the Declaration of Independence. There's no such thing as political parties, right? So he was the president of the independence. He was the first president. He was independent. It wasn't his vice president, John Adams. Had a cousin, I think Sam Adams is his cousin or something, and they used to debate. So they were formulating what was to eventually become democracy. So, but who were they forming themselves to be? This president. That's, you know, what is the president and forming this constitution? They end up becoming the Federalists, or the federal government, right? So John Adams was a Federalist. Then Thomas Jefferson, being his vice president, forming his independent party, originally called Jacksonians or whatever, right? Jeffersonians or whatever they, you know, were trying to establish themselves as political parties. But it eventually became the first republic or Republican Party. So he had his original Republican Party flag and everything. So it was the Republican Party, and what they were trying to develop was calling democracy in the development of the Bill of Rights, for example, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. That's what they were arguing, debating over. And therein is where our freedom of speech, the freedom to shut up, and, you know, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, legal counsel, the Seventh, whatever, you know, yada, 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 right? And we as Americans should know our rights. And that's all I've been saying. So when it comes to Trump and talking about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, and pretty much pointing at ex-slaves, you know, et cetera, is how we get what you're saying. That's why we're now calling ourselves foundational Black Americans. And, you know, hey, we got a lot of grievances, you know, if you look at the history, right? Or wrong. And I'm trying to get away from that modus well, excluded middle, right or wrong, right? As an excluded middle, because they really not opposites. Like, right might be the wrong direction, for example, right? Left is clearly the wrong direction with all of this, well, just keep it 100, this feminism, what's the second one? Illegal aliens, for example, and then the third one being the flag, the rainbows, and how they're claiming a greater grievances than the foundational Black American. I mean, you can't put it any clearer than that, right? Especially, I'm taking a sip of my. This is pretty good. It's a mango. It's a mango. And the boy. Because we got some pizza coming, and I didn't want to be interrupted if the doorbell rings. And that was pretty. I don't know. It didn't ring. But we had a good day. We went to the gym and worked out and et cetera, and about to enjoy pizza. That's why I mentioned having a little pizza party. And why the political talk still is the political talk, but especially when it comes to Generation X, and our last hurrah at being eligible to be the president of the United States. We're getting up there in age, yo. Like, I feel as though the president shouldn't be 80 years old, 60 to 70. This is good. This is a good range, 40 to 60 is a righteous age, right? I don't think John F. Kennedy was the youngest president. I forget the actual who was, but I think that person became the president because there were 4 presidents that were murdered or killed, should I say? I heard it was another attempt on Trump's life, or they captured somebody of a suspect of interest and stuff. But we have a lot of people saying that, nah, that's not really happening. It's like, yeah, but best believe it's really happening, yo. Like, there's a lot of people with, and we keeping it simple with the mental health issue, right? That's just where I keep it real, like, especially when we start talking again about the 10 Commandments, and the second 5 being do not kill, do not cheat, do not steal, do not lie, do not covet, right? The do nots. The do or do not. There is no try, as Master Yoda said, right? So, but we gonna rap more about Star Wars. That's what I'm gonna get more into. I wish they would go with the books of Timothy Zahn. Like, I like talking about that. Me and my son, we went to go see Spider-Man. I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't. Like, we went to go see it in 4DX. I know I talked about that a little bit. I do want to see it again. But right now, the way my site is, I need an LCD screen. I need something backlit in order to really see it as in a good picture. A projection to a screen is very bad with the way my eyesight is right now, currently. But I talked about that. Hit that like button, subscribe. And I know that was always part of the conversation. Trying to get to 100 subscribers. We're going to talk more about generations and stuff like that. It's one of the things I was talking about with my son because I'm a 70s baby, so I grew up off of when it comes to electronics, for example. I grew up off the Atari 2600 to the Super Nintendo, so that's 70 to 90. And my son I had him when I was 40, so he's a lot younger than most Generation X oldest children. So he grew up off of the Wii U, in the Switch and the Switch 2 now. So, I mean, there it is in a nutshell. And what generations are we in? 9, 10, and 11 or something like that? So I grew up off of generations basically 1, 2, 3, and 4 or whatever. He grew up off of, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And we have our medium because he's a big Sega fan. And I mentioned to him today they need to come out with a Dreamcast Mini or whatever because he loves Sonic the Hedgehog. And Dreamcast was like, I think generation 5 or 6. And how the bits grew, from pre 8-bit to 8-bit to 16 to 32, 64, 128, 256, and how that growth turned into, programming language, and how we get to understand the artificial intelligence that's taking over the world today. By Elon Musk and META, Meta, right? Or, what's the other boy name with Elon Musk? And did I say Elon Musk? I might have said Elon Musk, and I meant to say whoever the Meta, who's the Meta guy with Facebook or whatever, these multi-trillionaires that need to cut the check as well, There it is. There it is. So we're going to keep on building, keep on adding on, keep on having fun. And, hope y'all appreciate this quick jump on to do this little quick radio live at 5. I let y'all know everything's going good. Mom and Pops is doing good, the family's doing well. We've been through a lot through that whole COVID thing, and I'm glad that's over, and looking forward to these next years, unlike, others saying, whatever, but we doing our best, I say put it that way, we doing our best, and would appreciate y'all to, keep tuning in, keep joining the movement. And I'm about to go enjoy some PIZZA, zigzag pizza, I'll talk more and more about gaming because I am trying to do more game theory. Group theory is what it is, but we're going to use it in a sense of solving puzzles as I set up and get the studio rebuilt. And then finally color theory, where how do we identify 16 point whatever 8 million different colors using different numerical concepts, that science, technology, engineering, and mathematics of computers, right? So there it is in a nutshell. Hope y'all enjoyed this quick presentation. I know I repeated a lot of stuff, but I really enjoyed and sharing the word with y'all. We'll get back to some biblical conversations as well, especially when it comes to moral ethics, virtues and principles, and all that good stuff. We'll talk more, how to play the best game of Yahtzee. I love Yahtzee. I miss playing Yahtzee, as well as dominoes and even chess. So give us time. Thanks again. And I will holler back to y'all soon, okay? Giving y'all what? One God, our Father, all the time. Hip-hop life. One love. One love. One love. Be happy just to have just one love. That's God is love. Hip-hop is life. Time is pretty dope. Money, whereas money, nothing more than a fourth dimensional illusion that really doesn't exist. In Final Fantasy 11, we called it Gil. G-I-L, right? And I get back to Wabi and talking more and more about Final Fantasy 11. talking about Final Fantasy 14 with the nephew, DJ, etc., right? So you lose your money, you lose nothing, right? You lose your health, you lose something. You lose that character, game over, right? Hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Like I said, we are resting is the acronym of war we're using. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We come in peace. And we wish y'all all harmony and happiness. One, God is understood. One love.